Well, it's I think it's 21st of September. About 10 days, a little less, 9 days till bow season comes in here. And I'm going to put this new rig that I really like. I use a rigid saddle where a lot of you guys use soft saddle. But I'm going to introduce this new rig. It's simpler to put together, and I'm going to talk about it and try to, make it easier for you guys to put your own together. First thing I'm going to start off with is safety, because every year people get hurt. Hunting accidents, sometimes they're fatal, and a lot of it could be avoided if human error. Making sure you're using proper equipment, making sure you're using your equipment properly. That could all be avoided. When I started introduced to tether in 2019, my goal was to make it safer and not make it more dangerous. I think it's because you have a short tether to the tree. I think it is one of the safest systems out there, but nothing's completely safe. The tree you're climbing could blow over, It's your place to be aware of these things and to, use your equipment regularly, practice. All these things help to increase safety. Now back to the introduction of this new system. Like I say, it's a lot simpler. I have it over here on a maple tree hanging. Let's see here. This one, I used the same 12-inch eye that I did in my 2020 system on the end that hooks to the tree. There's a 12-inch eye that runs around through here. I do that for two reasons. One, it allows me to run the leg strapping through easily, and the second thing is it actually allows greater grip strength on the tree. Now, if you'll notice, this tree is smooth bark, okay, and it's a hard bark. And if you look right here, you'll notice it's a red oak. Right here is also red oak, and extremely rough. Anything would stick to that, okay? But now, when you're climbing, you basically got two kinds of trees. You may have a hickory that'll start out like this, but as you go up it, it'll end up more like that. Very slick and very hard. I've had people ask me about Amsteel, about wire rope. Because there's two types of trees and one of them slick, I do not use it. Amsteel and wire rope will slip on that hard, slick surface. And not only that, it will actually roll. Once it slips, it will actually roll coming down the tree and gain momentum with you. So it's not really cut out for that. I know it's extremely high in strength, but when it comes to abrasion resistance, heat resistance, knotability of the rope, arborist climbing rope is far superior, and that's the only thing I use, and that's the only thing that I recommend. There's some good arborist ropes out there. There's different places that sells arborist equipment that you can buy it. One good rope, you buy a rope, it'll last you for years. You and a buddy go in together on a rope, and it's a lot cheaper than if you went and tried to buy somebody making the system for you, and there's really not that much to the system. On this system here, I do recommend sewing the eyes, but if you know your rope and you're familiar with your equipment, you can use, there's a couple knots that I'm going to show you later in the video that you could actually tie a rig like this together and use it for a while to see if you like it. And then, but it does make it a little heavier, where this system here weighs less than 5 pounds. If you have to add about 3 foot of rope for a knot, and a lot of people find that hard to believe. But for this 1/2 inch knot, for this 1/2 inch rope, in order to make a good figure 8 knot that's dressed right, it takes about 32 inches of rope. So where I use 12.5 feet of rope to make one of these, it would take just, well, go ahead and make it 18 feet of rope if you're going to use figure of 8 knots. If you look at my system, this one here, there is no Prusik lines. I use Blake's knot. That's what I've got tied in this one, is a Blake's knot. That is my ascender. I've used the Blake's knot for years on single rope technique, and that's another thing, is if you go and buy you a good rope, you'll not only end up with enough rope, but you can buy you enough rope to make your 2-tether rig. Well, you've also got enough rope for single rope technique, but I've used Blake's knot for years. I use my feet as my lower ascender. It's a military style climbing, and then I just use a Blake's knot for my upper ascender. And then once I tie my knot in, I come down and I sew, and then I wrap it with bank line, and in some cases I even wrapped it with tape for abrasion resistance to protect the threads. But I come up with a 4-inch eye. Okay, now if I don't need a saddle or anything to climb with 2-tether, if it's done properly, you can climb without it. The saddle becomes a safety harness in your climb, but you could also use a belt with an adjustable bridge, or you could use an upper body safety harness. But if I'm using a soft saddle, I'll go ahead and slide my bridge through this line, even though my leg tether is actually hooked up on this. Both rope parts of this tether are identical, so you make one just like the other. But like I say, you can adjust the if you run your bridge through this eye. Once you get up in place, you can take all the weight off of your leg loop and put it on your saddle. And you can either remove your leg loop, or you can, do whatever you want to get once you get up there where you want to be and get set up. But I'm going to take you over here and actually show you, give you the ideas of putting this together. I've got some rope laying over here on the ground. This just happens to be Blue Ox. Some rope from Blue Ox, which is a good arborist rope. I like it. I don't have a cameraman. This is actually like my 7th or 8th time of let's see here. This is my 7th or 8th try of actually getting this video. I'm not really good at YouTube videos, but my main goal is just to put something out there to help people with, and it's kind of fun doing it once in a while. I don't know that I want to do something like this all the time, but like I say, if it helps some of you guys out, and I don't mind doing a little bit, I think it's for the safety reasons and things like that, it's worth doing. And it is a good climbing technique when you get used to it, but it does take practice, and that's one of the major things, practice. But first thing I do is you'd want to measure out how much rope you're going to need. Which, if you're going to sew the eyes, like I say, it's 12.5 feet. If you're going to tie it, then that would be 18 feet. This will add about 2 to 3 pounds to your system by the increased amount of rope that you're using. But what I do is start out with tying Blake's knot. Take my finger and I'll take the rope and wrap it around 2 times. I'm wrapping the rope around the finger and the rope. And then I'll wrap it 2 more times around the rope itself. And then I come back through this side from where I started wrapping at. And I'll go behind it and over to where my finger's at. Now you can go on YouTube and they'll go into more details on tying the Blake's knot if you need help doing this. And then I slide the rope up through the 2 loops and I pull it tight. And then you dress your knot. Dress your knot. And then I put me a stopper knot in the end of that. And when you dress the knot good, make sure everything's where it's supposed to be. Your knot should look like that. Okay, that is your ascending knot. Pull that tight. And that's like I say, it's a good knot. I've used it for climbing for years, and I like using it. I like replacing the Prusik lines. And then you want you a 4-inch eye just below your Blake's knot right in here. So I'd go down here and I'd wrap it around up close here. I can see I got way too much rope, so I'll draw maybe a little bit more rope through. And I'll take it around. Now this is a figure of 8 knot. I go around and I go behind and then I come back down through. And then take the time to dress your knot. Make sure everything's laying flat where it's supposed to. This way there's no sharp turns or bends in your rope. Now, there's my figure of 8. Okay. This will be my first loop right below my ascending knot or adjustment knot. Okay. So this will give me the adjustment. This would hook to my belt, leg loop, a foot loop, or saddle. And then this is my adjustment. And that's not going to let you slide. And if this knot was to fail, you are still tied into your tether. And then the same way that I made this knot, you would go on the other end and simply make another figure of 8 knot. Now there's different numbers and different specs for rope as to the effects of knots on the rope. It's anywhere from 25%. It will decrease the rope strength anywhere from 25 to 50%. That's where it goes back to knotability of the rope, and those specs go along with arborist rope. You can find that information out there. With this rope here, it would not bother me at all to go ahead and set that up and climb like that. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm recommending that you would sew it, but I would have no problem tying and using it just that way. like I say, practice is a big issue with this. I hope this helps you guys out there. When it comes to the lake loops, I sew mine. But if you look up water knot for webbing, if you use seatbelt material, it's 6,000 pounds tensile strength. So a water knot should safely hold in the position of something like that, and I would have no problem using it. I would recommend that it be glued and sewed, because that's actually what I do with mine. But there's figures that you have to do in accordance to the thread you're using and stuff like that in order to be able to, for your joint to actually maintain the strength of the webbing. And that's the same with rope. But I hope this helps you guys. But since this is a climbing video, I'm going to go ahead and climb this maple, because like I say, it's a smooth maple and you can see this grip's good. Webbing something, 2-inch webbing has actually a higher grip than this rope does. But the workability of the webbing is not near as good. It's not near as good. This rope would hold a 200-pound man. And as far as figuring out if my webbing is 6,000 pounds, that's probably going to be the weakest part of the entire system. And you're looking at, if it's 6,000 pounds, then that's a 600-pound safe workload. Now, some people say, well, yeah, but that's way higher. You should go lighter because you can go higher. No, because something like this you're using over and over and over again. I would rather maintain maximum strength than to go down to minimum and take a chance. But I'm going to go ahead and climb this tree. I'm going to climb, I don't know, 18, 20 feet up or so. But like I say, it is a climbing video. Let me turn this around here. Here's a second loop. This is actually what I carry my system, fasten it together with when I'm packing it. I got a little bit of problem again. I got a problem with my camera leg. The other day it actually fell off on me. But I'll get her set up here in a minute. Let's see here. I'm going to try to get here. Let's see. I'll adjust the camera down. Let's see what this looks like. I can see me walking down through here. And I'm looking back to see if I can still see myself, and I can. And I can actually see a pretty good ways up the tree. Now I got a tree that's leaning across here. But I don't have no major limbs, just small stuff. And I personally just like climbing this system because it's so easy to use. After you practice with it, it seems to get easier the more you use it. Which, that's going to be with anything as far as that goes. Like I say, this tree, the bark on it's slick. And this rope has, my boots have a harder time sticking to it than what the rope does. One of the things I like about this system is I can literally, I can climb in all different kinds of shoes. If I use spurs, that kind of gets limited. I can climb around the tree. This is a pretty straight tree. And I can see I'm up in the camera pretty good now. But you just take your time with this. You don't rush yourself, and it's still, all your movements are efficient. doesn't do much good to get up the tree if you've had to work so hard you're pouring the sweat. Then your scent is alerting everything in the area. I've easily made up to a decent honey hive. Easily. And that didn't take me but just a few minutes. And like I say, I'm just taking my time. How you put your loops on a tree. Like I say, this is part of the practice. That means each hand is in control of the descent, and like I say, you take your time. Slick trees are worse, because not only do different products have a problem grabbing these type of trees, but your shoes are slicker on. But even with it being slicker, this system has no problem climbing up and down these trees. And really, when you're in the woods, you're basically looking at two kinds of trees. I mean, there's lots of varieties, but there's two kinds of trees. There's what I call rough texture and hard slick bark trees. And you want to be able to climb both of them, because you need to be at where the deer is going to be at. A lot of times that's going to put you around oaks, but there's a lot of times I find maple or hickory. It'll be in that same area. I took my time climbing that tree, and it didn't take very long. It's a very efficient way of climbing. It doesn't wear you out. You're not pouring the sweat. I hope this helps you guys. Thanks for watching.